Hi there, and welcome back to Sunshine Strategies Radio. My name is Jen McMillan, and I'm the founder of Sunshine Strategies. We are a nonprofit consulting organization that helps communities empower themselves to support families. So, if you're new to our podcast, welcome. If you are a continuing listener, thank you so much. 3 years ago now, I think, we started this podcast as Kids Political Radio, me and my son Charlie, but we've kind of grown and adapted it to serve this purpose now. So, if you stuck with us so far, thank you very much. And there's the geese, if you can hear them in the background. I am out at St. Croix Lake State Park again today, enjoying a little bit of sunshine before the winter storm moves in. I was looking at the weather report, and it kind of sounds like we're going to get about a foot of snow. I'm not super excited about it, so I'm going to enjoy this sunshine while I can. Now, I wanted to give a couple of updates before I get into today's episode. First off, I thought that I was ready to announce Project Taphophile and start fundraising for the cemetery that we're working on. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I, a couple of weeks ago, found a document that made us question who exactly owns the property that the cemetery is on. So we've hit kind of a snag there. But I am excited to keep digging into the project, and I've pulled in some extra resources. So hopefully next week's episode, I will have more on the Finley Cemetery out here. Still haven't been there. I still don't have a friend with a boat. Working on that. But hopefully we'll get a little bit more information next week. In addition, if you listen to us as a podcast, I use Pocket Cast myself, but I publish this podcast through creators for Spotify. If you don't like this format, I also am publishing this on YouTube under Sunshine Strategies logo, and I'm going to try and post a link in the description, so in case you want to see that. And we had been doing Patreon. Now, since I'm old and I didn't know any better, I was more familiar with Patreon. It has been brought to my attention, though, that Patreon isn't the best place for political people like me. So we're going to be moving over to Substack. I have moved all of my writing over there, and from now on I'll be posting everything that appears on the Patreon. Normally it will all be on Substack, and we'll be closing out the Patreon. So thank you to everyone that was following me there on Patreon, and I hope that you'll join me as we move over to Substack. And I think the final update for today is hello to all of my friends that I've met on Blue Sky. I had been really reluctant to be on social media for the last couple of years because you've been on social media. But I finally got on Blue Sky, and I have been having a blast. Everyone that I've interacted with has been positive. Some a little too much, and those people get blocked. But everybody has been really nice to interact with on Blue Sky. So if you're joining me from Blue Sky, welcome. I am just as quirky here as I am on Blue Sky. I hope you enjoy it. So, all right, enough for the updates, and on to the main part of our episode today. On Solstice Day, I decided to spend some time at Lincoln Trail Homestead State Park. It's just west of Decatur, Illinois, here in Macon County. Liza went down for a nap, and after some prep work for the next day's service, I kissed my husband, Tim, as he read in the living room, and snuck away to enjoy the fading afternoon light. Sitting there, I wondered if Abraham Lincoln came back after that first disastrous winter, to watch the sunlight on the river, to catch a glimpse of a dancing spider web, or maybe chuckle at a feisty squirrel. It's a beautiful spot, but one that held many memories. I'm sure mostly negative for Abraham Lincoln. By all accounts, Abe didn't have a good relationship with his father, Thomas. And that is where the Lincoln family first spent the winter in Illinois, in Macon County. The big snow in 1831 almost killed the Lincolns. Many people and animals were lost during the long winter nights. To imagine Mr. Lincoln sitting near the Sangamon River 194 years ago, wondering if his family would survive the longest night, the harshest winter, to see the spring. Today feels similar to me, and it seems significant that I needed, or I had to, take time off this past year. Like I needed that time to process my trauma and my grief. Because this past year for me, and this time between the presidential election and Inauguration Day, and Abe Lincoln's 1830 solstice, are all periods of preparing and waiting. Like Lincoln, I fought hard to get to this point, where he and his family trekked into the wilderness to find a better future for his whole family. I've spent the last year trying to figure out how to do what I was born to do. But my experiences in our reality have made impossible. If you've ever met me, you know that I'm a politician. Full stop. My purpose is to make communities work for those who live in them. I'm interested in anything related to that goal, from early childhood education to elder care to even the ethics of food production. However, I'm also my family's first daughter and first grandchild. I've always felt called to care for others, to feel their hurts, and to solve their problems. There's no place in American politics for that anymore. And I know firsthand. My entry into politics was joyful. That in 2016, we progressives came together, first online and then in person, with Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner, with the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. But reality creeps in once you step away from the bubble of supportive friends. No matter how much I agreed with JB or Susanna or even Dick Durbin, it was not going to get me elected in 2018 when I ran for state representative here in Illinois. Rather, even just the letter behind my name lost me credibility in the circles I'd always been welcome in. Slowly, I lost what little self-identity I had at that point by hiding parts of myself that weren't welcome in politics from both parties. I now know more about myself and why it was easier for me to get absorbed into that unhealthy system than others, but I'm still a politician. Even in the depths of my depression and mental health struggles, I kept working. I kept showing up daily for the staff, the kids, and the communities that needed me. I didn't see it at the time, but I absolutely was working myself to death because I cared too much to stop. And then came the final straws. One day at work, I had to share my experience and knowledge with a mom in real crisis because my team and I had to determine how to best help her. And while she needed mental health treatment, I knew that sending her to the emergency department that day would be more harmful than helpful. Because of her health, her conditions, and financial situation, any hospital that she would have gone to would have placed her in a behavioral health unit without any of her coping mechanisms or supports. While there, they would fiddle with her medications, with the goal to calm or sedate her immediate symptoms, rather than address her actual needs. She needed real inpatient services, but she couldn't afford it. Neither could my family. That day, we created a safety plan together, with the fail-safe being that if she was a danger to herself or others, we would take her to the hospital any time of day. And I am so happy to report that a year later, her and her family are still safe. And I made a lifelong friend. The final straw was a little boy that I'll call Baby S. Baby S was 3, soon to be 4. And due to a lot of family trauma, situational issues, and broken systems, our community of care put him in danger over and over again by accident. I think that was the day I knew I needed to leave the crisis nursery, but I was too stubborn. Because to be the advocate that those families needed, I couldn't do it as an executive director of a local nonprofit service agency. So I did it after hours, on the weekends. Like I always have, I identified the issues, the root causes as I saw them, and developed solutions to improve the system. So much so that I drafted a 21-page informational packet on how to address the child maltreatment crisis in Illinois by creating at least 5 more crisis nurseries in the state immediately. And while I sent it privately to legislators and executive contacts, I haven't shared it publicly, mostly because it's important enough to be produced by a credible organization, which I didn't have at the time. I didn't want any of my work to be seen as a power move or political, nor taken as a product of the boards that I worked for or with. And clearly, this is a hard story to tell. It's very personal for me, and I wanted to tell it in a way that protected the anonymity of those people involved. Choosing to leave the crisis nursery and start Sunshine Strategies was the hardest and most painful decision I've ever made. And yet it was the right one. Now that I've launched and figured out how to explain this crazy business model, it's finally time to share what was Sunshine Strategies' first project and where it stands now. Because that project isn't finished. It's just resting. In the next month, there is a meeting about developing a crisis nursery here in Macon County, hosted by Senator Doris Turner. It's my hope in 2025 to continue addressing this issue and assist them and as many others that want to create more safe communities for families and children. If you are interested in helping with the crisis nursery here in Macon County, Illinois, please email me. I will make sure that you get the information for the meeting. I believe it's on January 28th. But regardless if you are here in Macon County or somewhere out in the world, I'm hopeful that, like Abe Lincoln's first solstice here in Illinois, I and you can continue to grow brighter as the season changes. May the darkest parts of our night be over.